Hello, this is Aaron Eckhart, and you are listening to Center Stage with Mark Gordon, the beautiful one and only Mark Gordon.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
Good evening and welcome to Center Stage. My name is Mark Gordon. Every Tuesday night we love to talk about film, and tonight is no exception. October is the season of Halloween, and currently there are 3 horror films that are opening up: Unnatural, I Spit on Your Grave 3, and Tales of Halloween. And we are going to talk about the man behind the music of these films, Edwin Wendler, and he's here in studio with us this evening. And let me just run down some of his credits. Oh, nothing. He just worked on X-Men, Days of Future Past, Little Fockers, Teresa's, which Teresa, every time I turn on my cable channel, Teresa's there, and I still watch it. I don't know what it is, but I love to watch horror films when I'm home, safe in my bed, because I want to see somebody having a worse day than I've had.
And it's funny that you mentioned Teresa's.
Why is that?
Well, I was at a signing about a year ago or so, and somebody had a DVD of it, and I was surprised that they even knew that I worked on it. They have no music credits whatsoever. I don't know how that happened, but I thought it was really cool that that person knew I worked on the movie and asked me to sign it.
That is the ultimate fan, when you have somebody that actually went out of their way to find out who did the music. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess they found out on IMDb. It's not that difficult to find out, but
right.
I felt touched by it, and they seem to really like the movie as much as you can like a movie like that. It's very well done. I have to say the makeup effects look really realistic. I was convinced.
Let's talk about the 3 that are currently playing. Having 3 films released in the same month, that's a lot. I mean, you were very busy, weren't you?
Yes, I was very busy. But, October is a very popular release month for horror movies, obviously. And it's not like I didn't work on all those 3 movies at the same time or back to back. There were a couple of smaller projects in between. But it just, as I said, it's a popular release month for horror movies. And on Unnatural, the way it happened was that I have to go back a little bit. Do you know that crazy thing called the 48-hour film festival, where film teams are given 48 hours to do a short film? It's really crazy, and I usually have 4 hours to do the music. It's like 5 minutes of music in 4 hours. So in one of those crazy 48-hour film festival short films, one of the cinematographers was Mark Carter. And Mark was the cinematographer on Unnatural, and he recommended me to the director, Hank Braxton. And Hank says that after only a couple of seconds of listening to my music, he said, that's the right guy for Unnatural. I want to meet him. So we had a great meeting, and I could tell immediately that the people who were around Hank, who were talking to him, who were working with him, really liked working with him. And there was this friendly back and forth, and I'm like, I want to join those guys. I want to work with them. And fortunately, I ended up doing just that. And it was a really great collaboration. I keep saying this, and Hank may be a little embarrassed by it, but it really was one of the best working relationships I ever had on a movie. What I really wanted to do on the score is establish a main theme, just a very simple idea, and then use it in scenes where you might not expect it, because in its purest form, the idea is a very lyrical one, because I wanted to capture the loneliness of the landscape. It's just, winter, snow everywhere, help is very far away. So I wanted to capture that, but I wanted to use that same theme everywhere, even in the crazy action music. So I used portions of it in action riffs or only in the bass line, stuff like that.
Do you write themes for the polar bear, themes for the victims, themes for the landscape? Do you think in those terms?
Yes, in this case, I thought it was necessary to have, because Hank wanted the music to be cold, and he wanted the coldness of it to be a presence everywhere. Even in the main titles, which look beautiful, and we see beautiful landscapes, and we see elk running, but he wanted to have that uncomfortable cold everywhere in the music. So that's why I kept focusing on that main theme, which is a very simple idea introduced on the piano. And then for the bear doesn't really have a theme. It has more of a textural approach, where I used brass sounds and put them through weird filters. Because what I wanted to do was take a natural sound and obviously make it unnatural by applying weird filters to it. So that's the main thing for the bear.
Now, with the end credits, what is the ultimate objective with the end credits? Is it to create something that's captivating to keep the audience there so they sit through the entire end credits? Because, unless you're really a cinephile, the minute the film is over, people are up and out.
Right. I think no matter how interesting the music is, people will just leave. But what I want to do with an end credits piece is, some composers, especially if there's not a lot of time, they just choose to use music that's been playing in the movie and re-edit it or rearrange it. But I always do my best to compose a new piece of music that basically sums up the essence of the movie and hopefully presents the main theme or the main themes in an exciting way.
And is it also the intention to kind of amplify what the audience has just seen, so when they leave, it amplifies the experience?
Exactly, yes. And I think it comes from the tradition of opera, It's an overture and the exit music, I guess. The main credits being the overture. And I think it's exciting. And those are obviously the pieces that you work on the most in terms of making them sound great just as a musical experience, because the music is obviously very exposed.
When you say exposed, what do you mean?
It means that there's no dialogue, no sound effects.
Right.
You're just listening to music as
there's
a pure...
nothing to distract.
Exactly, as a pure music listening experience.
Unless you don't want to read.
Exactly.
How long did it take you to write the score for this?
I would say about 6 or 7 weeks or something like that. We had an interesting case because the distributor wanted to make the movie a bit longer. So after a pause of a couple of months, I got new material that I had to score. So that was interesting and kind of cool to revisit music that I had left behind and thought it was already done.
You get a 8.1 rating out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh, really?
For Unnatural, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I
didn't know.
I like the artwork.
Oh, thanks. It's very mysterious. Yeah.
And the premise is, global climate change prompts a scientific corporation to genetically modify Alaskan polar bears.
That's right. It's this
but
tragic
now it's the
thing.
Horrific consequence.
Yes.
Now we don't have to worry about corn and soy and wheat. Now they're modifying the salmon.
That's right.
Don't upset the salmon now that are like 10 times the size.
Well, it's noble intentions, as is often the case in horror movies. They want to create polar bears and other animals that can withstand the effects of global climate change, and the experiment goes wrong.
Have you seen the film? In it, with all the music and everything in it?
Yes,
with
I saw the final version a couple of times, once at a cast and crew screening, where I first met director Mike Mendes, with whom I later collaborated on Tales of Halloween, so that was pretty cool. And then just recently at the official premiere that After Dark Films did with an audience. It's always nice to see it with an audience, You hope that they react the way you want them to, and fortunately that happened.
How does music influence an audience reaction in a film?
I would say that it can have a very strong influence, but not always. Like sometimes you try your best to get an idea across, and it's just very difficult to do what you want to do with music. I usually say that music cannot say concrete things like the door is green. Music has to communicate in abstract ways. But those can be very strong, especially if you take out dialogue and sound effects. Music can have an immense effect on the audience.
Do you write themes for the polar bear, themes for the victims, themes for the landscape? Do you think in those terms?
Yes, in this case, I thought it was necessary to have, because Hank wanted the music to be cold, and he wanted the coldness of it to be a presence everywhere. Even in the main titles, which look beautiful, and we see beautiful landscapes, and we see elk running. But he wanted to have that uncomfortable cold everywhere in the music. So that's why I kept focusing on that main theme, which is a very simple idea introduced on the piano. And then for the bear doesn't really have a theme. It has more of a textural approach, where I used brass sounds and put them through weird filters. Because what I wanted to do was take a natural sound and obviously make it unnatural by applying weird filters to it. So that's the main thing for the bear.
Who were some of the composers that influenced you?
Definitely Bernard Herrmann. I mean, he's like the godfather of what a lot of horror music is nowadays. But I would say Jerry Goldsmith, because I love mixed meters and changing meters and odd meters, and that's something that Jerry Goldsmith did all the time in his music. And I was very lucky that I attended a seminar with him, and I was able to ask him that question. I asked him, why does your music have all those cool mixed meters? Is it because it's just part of your style, or is it because you worked on a piece of music and the picture changed, and all of a sudden a 4/4 bar needed to be a 7/8 bar because of, changing lengths? And he said, that's an excellent question. And he said that was always part of his style, even before he started writing film music. So I feel very grateful that I was able to ask that question and get a nice answer.
The next film that's coming out for you this month, I Spit on Your Grave 3.
In this case, I never talked to the director. He was, for some reason, absent from post-production. So I talked to the producers, primarily Lisa Hansen, and post-production supervisor and co-producer Adam Driscoll. And they really liked my music for a movie called Broken Angel. They really liked the vibe of it, and they thought it was appropriate for I Spit on Your Grave 3 because the location is very different, and the main character, Jennifer Hills, who is the same character as in the first movie. So it's the same
lady as the second one as well?
As in the first movie.
Oh, yes. I see. So she's come back now.
She's come back.
For more revenge.
Well, in the beginning, she wants to start a new life for herself after all the
can you blame
trauma.
her? Can you blame her, Edwin?
Exactly, after all the drama that she went through, she just wants a new start.
I feel like that every week after doing my show.
Absolutely.
You have no idea what it's like on this end of the microphone.
You should totally do what she does. Change your identity and take revenge.
I haven't.
And the setting is very different because the setting in the first movie was very rural, and in this third movie, which is a sequel to the first one, the setting is very urban, and I guess they wanted to have a different sound, so that's why they got me on board. So because I asked in the beginning how much should my music pay homage to the music of the first movie, and they basically said we want something completely new, and do whatever you feel is best, and that's what I ended up doing.
What's your instrument of choice?
I would say the workstation.
Really?
Yes. I studied piano for a while, and my piano playing is just good enough to get ideas across and to arrange my own music. But I'm not a very good pianist, and obviously I have to know how to write for other instruments. But I would say pretty much. It's true for pretty much any composer who works now, that they have to be great at their workstation. No matter what sequencer they use, they have to know all the shortcuts and everything to be super efficient in their work. So
you went to UCLA, and what did you learn in their film scoring and screenwriting department?
The UCLA film scoring program is fantastic. The teachers there were really kind in the sort of advice that they gave, not only in terms of composition, orchestration, the technicalities of film scoring, like how to keep music in perfect sync with picture and stuff like that you have to just learn. But also in terms of situations that just happen in the lives of composers. Gerald Fried, who is a wonderful composer, probably best known for his music for the original Star Trek TV series, he had a great class where he taught us how to maneuver through meetings. Like he would pretend that he was some movie executive or a director who didn't pay attention to what you were saying, or was distracted by phone calls, or kept talking about his children instead of talking about you and what you can bring to the movie. So those lessons were very, very useful.
Where do you feel most at home in terms of your scoring? What type of genre?
I don't think I have one. To me, it's key to find something about each project that you fall in love with. Mm-hmm. And even if it's only one scene or one line of dialogue, because the music has to feel honest, it has to come from a place, much like acting, it has to come from a place of honesty and excitement and commitment.
How do you know when you've dialed into that? How do you know when what you are creating has that sense of authenticity and honesty?
I think it happens when I work on something and it doesn't feel like work at all. It just flows, basically. And sometimes, you work on a scene and no matter what you try, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep going. And this is an important lesson that I learned from Paul Haslinger, with whom I worked for a few years, is that...
What was the film?
It wasn't a particular film. It was just I was working on Fear Factor at the time, the NBC reality TV series. And, sometimes you get notes from a client and you don't understand them. There is something really weird. Or notes that you think are contrary to what the music should do. And even in cases like that, there is always a way. And this is not just positive reinforcement or blah, blah, blah. This is the actual truth. You can always find something that can get you excited, even if you get crazy notes or you have to throw out a piece of music that you felt really passionate about. Even if you have to start from scratch, there's always something that you can find in the process that makes it exciting again. And I live for those moments. For me, it was really exciting to work on Fear Factor because what they wanted was a cinematic sound. So I scored each of those action sequences or stunts as though they were, $150 million action blockbuster movies. And that's what really got me excited about them.
Edwin, best of luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Until next week, this is Mark Gordon, and I'll see you center stage.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
Hello, this is Homer Simpson. Whenever I want to know what's going on in the entertainment world, I listen to Center Stage with Mark Gordon.